Hello, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to our Roofless in Colloquium, our first Roofless in Colloquium of the year. Thank you so much for being here. And just as we experienced during the Thanksgiving week, these couple of weeks felt eternal, like so long. I feel like rusty and I just can't wait to get back to a routine and it's just too long. So we're excited that we're here and we are recording this part of the session and then we're gonna stop recording, open the microphones and um, if you have any updates on your painting from last week, we can go over them or just kind of like exchange or share any ideas. So hi Jen, happy new year.
Hi, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
I know.
whoa.
Okay, we're gonna pretend everything's normal.
Everything's totally normal.
Anyhow, so what we're gonna do this time, instead of like doing demonstration with paint, what I did, Jen, was actually go over your amazing, incredibly helpful notes. And since we talked about streetscapes and there were some things there that we mentioned, we thought it would be a good idea to just talk about streetscapes and just provide or list the premises or criteria that we use when we are either out there painting, when we were painting in 2019 or early 2020s, 2020, or when we do it off of a photograph. Because I feel like there are certain things that I have not been able to find from either articles or books or other instructors that I checked online on YouTube, but I think they're very helpful. So you might have seen them already, but we prepped a few slides. And this demonstration or this presentation will be based on images, and then we'll talk about a few things. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and share the folder so we all have the images. And I'm just going to finish as we talk. I'm going to finish some of the painters. And these are some of my favorite painters. So I organize them chronologically. This is a very famous painting by Vermeer, executed 1657. I put some things that I found on Wikipedia, the little street. Every time I watch a documentary or something related to Vermeer, this painting comes about. And if you haven't, and if you have the chance, just go on YouTube and then just type the title, and you're gonna see curators and museum directors talk about this painting. And when I thought of streetscapes, immediately this came to mind because even though it's from the 17th century, there are a lot of like extremely modern things in this painting. So first thing I want to talk about is the use of verticals, because when you paint from life, the there's no distortion in regards of the verticality of anything that's upright. So this is a beautiful example of a very strange, or rather very modern view, or rather composition of a painting done without many diagonals, except for the lady in the window right here that shows us depth. But pretty much everything is done from across the street, and you see a lot of verticals. There's a little bit of a skewed element on the painting, which makes it a little bit more dynamic than perfectly straight. But I thought, regardless of the realism, because we know that Vermeer used some tricks and tools and resources to translate images from life onto the canvas. So I'm not going to go into um, what a good streetscape should look like based on how much detail there is. I just thought it would be interesting to bring this in regards of verticality, and also in regards of use of color, because even though these are red bricks, there's a lot of gray, there's a lot of ecru, and there's a lot of white. And those three colors, I would say, are crucial and important, and anchor or should anchor our color palette when we paint streetscapes. Again, gray, ecru, and white. Gray, ecru, and white. You can see a lot of ecru on the sidewalk, obviously, but there is ecru also on the white underneath this window. Uh, I mean, there are so many layers in this painting. Obviously, there are two figures and there's a narrative, and it's extremely um, modern in that sense. But I just wanted to bring this painting to talk about verticality and the use of the three fundamental colors that I think are the most important painting from life, a street or a cityscape: white, gray, and ecru. And you can see that the sky, it's not super blue. We put way too much color when we paint anything from life. So notice how toned down the sky is, the use of neutrals on the sky and barely any blue. Granted that it's cloudy, but um, bringing back this idea of not saturating color. I wonder if I can, yeah. So there's some botanicals which I want to talk about also in regards of having plants or trees on a streetscape. And notice the really desaturated green. It's not a bright green. It's not a light green. It doesn't have a lot of yellow, um, but it has blue in it. So notice how it's painted, that it's not grouped together as a mass, but there's some breaks and things that we can see as see-through. So even though this is from the 17th century, we can still apply today some of the concepts that I feel are so important when we paint. Red brick, but it's not super red. There's a lot of neutrals mixed with this red. So I'm just gonna move to the next painting. And
Leo, I'm so sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you. We just have a request for you to either turn up your volume or just speak a little louder.
Ooh, thank you so much.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Right. I'm just gonna move this a little. Thanks, Jen. Oops, sorry. Just actually, let me just do something. I'm gonna put this like um, microphone really, really close. So hopefully this will be even better. And all right, so here we go. Let me know also, Jen, if this, I need to speak. I have it really close.
That sounds great.
Okay,
Yeah, that sounds so good.
perfect. Thank you. So this is a painting by Monet, and as I was thinking of examples to use to talk about streetscapes, naturally the Impressionists come to mind just because they were fascinated by the transformation of Paris before the turn of the century. And they were the, the ultimate streetscape artists. They painted Paris um, many times, and all of them. And this is a Monet, the painting, I forgot the title, the Boulevard des Capucines. I believe he did a few versions. The Impressionists had something very peculiar in that sense. And I would say even going all the way to Matisse, because when they did streetscapes, they usually did them from not from ground level, if I could say that, but they were always perched in a balcony or in an upper floor because they wanted to capture the space, the openness of the urban space. So not a lot of close-ups, and again, Impressionism, the painting of modernity, that they were actually revolutionary in the sense that they wanted to capture all the technological improvements and new things that they were happening at the time. And one of them was the transformation of the actual city with all the boulevards. So they were obsessed with the boulevards. What I love about this painting is naturally the use of high key neutrals. I'm going to talk about strictly from a painting point of view. Again, not much saturation. Where's the accent color? The accent color is in this little kiosk, which I think it's a kiosk or a banner right at here. And that is it. That is it. Maybe some sort of like flowers or balloons. Let's just talk about the amazingly contemporary and not overdone featured crowd. It's just a few brushstrokes here and there. You don't see heads, you don't see eyelashes, and you don't see the whites of the eye. It's just a few loose brushstrokes. Verticality, but I hear I want to talk also about diagonals and how a diagonal in a streetscape can give you a sense of perspective without needing to know anything about perspective. Let's talk about visual planes. Great example here. In contrast to the Vermeer painting, you can see things on the foreground and lower ground, the street, the actual street with people. The midground has the grouping of the trees. And then there's a layering behind the trees that gets cropped on the left. And finally, you have two layers on the background, some buildings right here that are very smoky, very sfumato style, and then the sky. So notice how the composition here is absolutely brilliant, and it just gives me goosebumps because it's perfectly balanced. It has everything's everything's tackled, diagonals, visual planes, sky, cropping, and also the composition of the details is also very interesting. More details on the foreground, nothing on the background. This is an abstract painting. If you just crop this, there is absolutely nothing here recognizable, maybe the trees. Speaking of botanicals, you tell me where there is a green in this painting. Maybe just a little bit on this side, and perhaps this isn't even, it's not even a tree. Maybe it is. Yeah, that's the only green. A few dashes of really dark, I would say hooker's green on this kind of like tree, but there's no green. And I love this painting because it breaks associations with uh, the things. The sky is not super blue. The trees are not green. The trunks are not brown. Even though this seems very obvious, we keep just falling back into those associations when we paint a street. So consider that if you want to retouch or bring back some neutral tones on your painting. This is a painting by an American. Oops, let me see if I can. Oh, sorry. I just need to. I never know. I never know how to pronounce his name. Frederick Childe Childe Hassam, and he's an incredibly famous painter because one of his paintings, I think it sits in the Oval Office, unless the current orange Mussolini in that office just burn it down or just put some sort of like nonsense there. But I know that the painting of the American flags, a very famous painting of American flags on a street of New York, um, has been in the Oval Office for a very long time. So he, yeah, Fifth Avenue in Winter, 1919. Frederick, this is something I should know, but I don't. Anyhow, so a different arrangement or composition. There's more color here, but it's a little bit more monochromatic, so it's not compartmentalized. So and the style, it's a little bit more, I would say, post-impressionistic, even though this is after post-impressionism, but yeah, definitely it's not as detailed. So we're moving away from realism or uh, detail-oriented realism, and the crowd is also very abstract. But I wanted to point this out because of the use of color and how the color is not compartmentalized. I also wanted to give you a sense of detailed composition, from more definition right up here to also a very, and notice the American flags on the back. And look how this is painted, by the way. It's almost like pointillistic, and not there's not much painting there. There's possibly, it looks like a wash or very thin layers underneath. And then this like really bright blue, I would say, I don't know if it's Prussian blue or cobalt blue, but it seems that there's some Prussian somewhere. But this reminds me of you, Sarah Jennings, some of the details that you sometimes do in some of the paintings. My point is that here, that doesn't mean the fact that I'm saying don't saturate color doesn't mean that you don't have to use color. No, it doesn't. You can be very strategic. Look at this amazing golden reflection of a sun setting on this upper part, and how beautifully and strategically positioned it is in the composition of the painting. So check out the drawing of the buildings. When you see this painting, it looks like it's overtly detailed, but it's not. There are barely any architectural features. So again, not overworking, using color in a very strategic way that means something, that there's a reason behind it. And I just thought that in regards of the style, it's a good example. Verticality, there's nothing that is distorted here. There's no weird um, bowing of architectural lines, which happens when we take a picture with our phones. So things also to consider. And then check out this this painter, by the way, because he has a lot of really interesting. I forgot if he was mostly a post-impressionist. I didn't have time to check the bio, but I think we should talk more about it, because the French always get the credit, and there were some American. Here's another French. I'm sorry, but yeah, Gustave Caillebotte. Caillebotte. He never made it big in the impressionist circles. He was considered way too commercial. He's one of my favorite painters of the time, I would say, with Camille Pissarro possibly. But this is a very famous painting. I'm not going to mention the amount of detail, because this is not what's interesting about this painting in regards of how we can use things about this painting to our own practice. I'm going to point out the three colors that I mentioned before: gray, 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 ecru on the sky, ecru on reflections on the pavement. There's ecru pretty much everywhere on the buildings, naturally, because of the color of the buildings. White, just to create high key colors in certain areas, and also ecru. So right, yeah, I said ecru, gray, and white. So ecru on the sky, on the buildings. That's what I said. I'm repeating myself. But yeah, the use of those three colors, nothing is extremely saturated. And notice the color composition on this painting. The thing that it's the most colorful on the painting, it's the street lamp, which is so fascinating, because the fact that the rest of the colors are bleached um, creates a sense of atmosphere. And the word atmosphere is very important, because I'm going to use it with the next, or the few next paintings. When we are outside during daytime, unless it's like really early in the morning or during sunset time, the sun or the outdoor lighting has a tendency to bleach colors. And so when there's a lot of humidity in the air, like a rainy day, the bleaching occurs even more. So it doesn't have to be direct sun that creates that bleaching, but it could be just the humidity in the air. And that's something that's very important when we paint and when we create perspective, because as we try to point out when we are out there painting or observing a photograph, the further away the view goes from our position or point of view, the blurrier and the more bleached the colors and the details are going to be. So notice this amazing transition with exquisite rhythm from the front, the facade of this corner building all the way to the end of the block, and how the lines follow a rhythm. They're not equidistant. As they go further away, they just get vanished. And then at the end, there's blue on the buildings. And I think it's important also here to point out the non-compartmentalization, wow, of the colors. There's gray on the cobblestone, right? I forgot. Yeah, I'm just gonna say the ground, and then also on the buildings. And this is in regards of perspective, it's a little bit more technical because it's a 2-point perspective. So we don't have to know these things, but notice how the facade of the building just gives us 2 points in which the lines converge. I think that's the word. So 2-point perspective. um, Anyhow, I love the composition. This painting is famous for the composition as well. The fact that you have this figure that it's not facing the painting and it's totally like cropped. And how about, let's talk about the fact that K-Bot cropped the feet of the central figures. And we always talk about giving enough room to visually go around the positive spaces on our figures, but the feet are cropped. So compositionally, the fact that this post right here splits the painting in half completely, and it creates these vignettes where things happen in different places. Uh, Sometimes when we are in front of a painting and it grabs our attention and we don't know why it grabs our attention, it's important to uh, sort of like try to articulate the reasons, or how we think that painting is grabbing our attention. And there's plenty to go about with this very sophisticated, compositionally very sophisticated painting. But again, in regards of what how it pertains to our own practice, gray, white, ecru, desaturation, um, cold tones to create a perspective the further away things are, and composition. I think that's also very important. This is an American artist, a contemporary American artist. And my intention with this presentation is to go from the Rembrandts and the Vermeers, I'm sorry, not Rembrandts, the Vermeers and the Monets and on that and all that, whatever nonsense, not nonsense, but classicism, to something more contemporary. I love this painter. He's not super well known, Stuart Shills. So he has a very peculiar personal way of approaching streetscapes. And first thing that I want to talk about is the um, the underdevelopment of the work. So we started with Vermeer and how each brick was painted, and this is a magnetism and a power, and it's as seductive. Look at the use of grays compositionally. I love the fact that there is cropping, but there's also some visual space around the car. So this image anchors the painting on the lower left end, and also value wise, it contains most of the shadows. So it's a good way to sort of like pull the painting down from that edge. No, barely any blue on the sky, verticality, 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 and then a great distinction between the ground and or whatever it's horizontal and upright. There are some botanical elements, and those definitely have sap green, but they don't. Can you just tell me if there are any leaves on those blocks of color? There are no leaves, but there's a sense of movement and dynamic energy that you can read because of the application of these loose brushstrokes that are not conforming or regular. We always talk about irregularity and how, especially in botanical elements, that could create a sense of growth. So this is it's an amazing painting. And I think there's no reason why we wouldn't be able to sort of like achieve this kind of like development. Obviously, this is more than just painting like this, because what I love about this painter is how he observes reality and how he just crops whatever he sees and create a slice of that reality on the painting in such an an unapologetic way. So this is a really bold painting in how underdeveloped it is. And look at the bottom one; it barely has any contained surfaces. It's just kind of like a blur of grays and taupey colors. But we can read that this perhaps is the back of a building or the side of a building, and we still see some visual planes developing. And yeah, from this edge, which it's a very strong, I would say, partition of the entire painting, because he's just reducing the painting or the space, the open space. It's reduced almost like 40%, I would say, with this block, this painted block right here. And I think that's really bold. And then the rest is depicting the open space. So composition, it's always more important than detail. Again, oops, composition being more important than detail, not only on a streetscape, but on any scape, landscape, seascape, cityscape, and whatever ends with scape, I guess. Composition is what makes the painting interesting and personal and with character. It's not how much detail we put. And if we do the windows, the curtains or whatever, we can see through. So and I'm sorry I couldn't find a bigger image, but I think this is an incredible painting. Maureen Gallagher, I didn't put her name. Maureen Gallagher is also, she's an American painter. She is not very well known. She's in the same level as Alex Katz, which we know, and I don't want to go into details about why, but she's represented by several galleries, at least in the US. And I've actually seen her paintings and a few times, and I follow her and I love what she does. And she always does landscapes, so it's very hard to find an actual streetscape. So I just chose this image that has a little bit more of a pavement, but she's more focused on the idea of having a home or a built construction uh, placed in a natural setting. In regards of the color palette, let's just break it down: color palette, composition, and style or detail. Color palette, it's very, very desaturated. I just want to talk about how desaturated the colors are. It's not super bright green, and that creates such a sense of peace and calmness. And so conceptually, and perhaps I'm going to make a leap here, and I promise I'm going to finish like in 1 minute. But when we are in front of something that it's an open space, when we are in front of an open space, and it's something that we consider beautiful, what happens to our emotions? We feel at peace, we feel calm, and we feel serene. There's a serenity of feeling being in front of a place that it's either empty or it's quiet or is um, uh, there's a sense of respite, I guess. I think that's the word. So I feel there is a correlation between that concept and the use of a color palette. And she does this beautifully in her paintings, because using a calm color palette will create a sense of calmness on your painting. So what she does is really smart, because she is very sophisticated. You could say this, and I mean, the stupidest of us would say, okay, a 5-year-old can do this, and that would be it. But it's just more than a very simple painting. I love how conceptually color palette and emotion is beautifully brought together here. And for us, especially, I feel like we need to make an effort to um, make better decisions in our color palette and not just jump to saturation right away, and unless we want to or we need to. So color palette really pale, lots of white, lots of gray, lots of ecru, especially right here. And there's more of an association with blue. She just plays with that idea a little bit more, I would say, than with other painters that we've seen. But composition also very interesting. There are visual planes, and I just want to talk about diagonals here to create a sense of space. There's a horizon line, and that just kind of like helps create more of a wider space. And in regards of like streetscapes, this does not apply because with a streetscape, it's very hard to find a horizon line. So this is possibly a hybrid between a landscape and a streetscape. So maybe it doesn't apply to the presentation, but I just want to talk about the idea of this crisscrossing diagonals as a way of like creating perspective without needing to know anything about perspective, especially this corner right here compositionally. I think it's brilliant because she brings something really close to the foreground. So the fact that this is like almost like bigger and you have this kind of gap or this jump just gives the idea that the house is further away from us than it actually looks like. Anyhow, so in regards of style, again, we don't have to go bananas to add a lot of details. This her structures or her buildings are stripped from detail. She's interested in masses and perhaps a little bit of a value study on those masses. So buildings doesn't mean like we have to do everything we see them on the buildings. It's just, yeah, not the case. So Lois Dodd, another painter that I love, and she's also an American painter. She's still alive. I think she's 93 years old. No one talks about her, and makes me sad that people will talk about her when she passes, probably. Anyhow, so this is a cityscape. It's not really a streetscape, but I just thought it was very interesting and the use of color and the way we have the composition. And you guys, I'm gonna really pause this for 1 second because I need to plug my computer. So bear with me 5 seconds. Ay, 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 ay. Um, okay. Sorry. I just should have done this, but I didn't. And of course, I was running out of battery. Anyhow, so contemporary of Alex Katz, but again, she doesn't get the attention. And finally, I think finally Fairfield Porter. He was a Northern California painter and not very well known, but he has a lot of fans. And he was a realistic painter. And I just brought this because of the use of color. There's more color on this painting naturally, and he was amazing at using color. I just, yeah, I can't say anything else here, but look at the salmon against the turquoise blue. So really great reinterpretation of color in that sense. Very underdeveloped. We don't have to do every single detail. Composition is very important. Look at this cropped triangle on the side, verticality right here. This street lamp reminds me of the K-Bot street light from the rainy street in Paris. Also not in the middle quite and not splitting the painting, but as a single object with a beautiful temperature contrast against the yellow ochre of the building. So really beautiful painting. And check Richard Diebenkorn, Southern California painter, and in his earlier work, he did a lot of mostly realistic streetscape. Was it Southern California? I think so. I'm not sure, but anyhow, so this is a view of a street. There's some landscape. Technically, this would not apply because there's a horizon line, but still, the compositionally, this is amazing. And then he moved on to abstraction, and I think that's all. So hopefully to recap the presentation and just move on to our conversations. Three main colors: white, gray, ecru. Be careful with botanical elements. Don't use a lot of green, and consider desaturation in regards of botanicals. Don't create hard masses, bring some see-through along the edges of botanical elements. Diagonals will help you create an open space. Play with visual planes so you can create more depth in your streetscape. And verticality, very important also. Even if you're working off of a photograph and the lines are converging or diverging on the photograph, try to keep everything vertical. That is vertical. And don't worry about details are the least important part of a landscape or a streetscape. Try not to associate color with objects. Don't go for blue in sky and necessarily and green in trees. Just observe. And I think those are the premises, and hopefully you were able to um, get something out of this. So thanks so much, and until the next one.